my dear learners, for this course on heat transfer. From today we are beginning a new module, that is module 5, wherein which we will be discussing heat exchangers and boiling and condensation. Let us discuss heat exchangers first and later I will take up boiling and condensation. Coming for heat exchangers are the devices which are used to transfer heat from one fluid to another fluid which are at different temperatures. Coming for the various types of heat exchangers, if I list out the classification of heat exchangers, so first, heat exchangers are the devices which are used to transfer heat from one fluid to another fluid which are at different temperature. So this is the definition of heat exchangers. Next, coming for classification of heat exchangers, which I will call shortly as HX, heat exchangers. So heat exchangers are of many types. So let me take up the broad classification and sub classification in it. Coming for the first classification of heat exchanger, that is based on type of operation. If I classify heat exchangers based on type of operating condition, heat exchangers are classified as A. Direct contact type, B. Indirect contact type. So coming for first one, in case of direct contact type of heat exchangers, the heat transfer between the fluids takes place because of physical mixing of the fluids. The very good example for direct contact type heat exchanger is cooling towers, wherein which both hot fluid and cold fluid will mix one another and heat transfer takes place between the hot fluid and cold fluid. So therefore, the example for direct contact type is cooling towers. Cooling towers are the best example for direct contact type. Coming for indirect contact type, the best examples are regenerators and recaptuators. In case of regenerators and recaptuator type heat exchangers, if I consider regenerative type of heat exchangers, these regenerators are the materials which store heat from the hot fluid and transfer the stored energy to the cold fluid. Coming for regenerative type of heat exchangers, they will be acting as separating medium between the hot fluid and cold fluid. The heat transfer from hot fluid to cold fluid takes place through this regenerative surface. The very good example for indirect contact type heat exchangers are radiators. Radiators of automobile, wherein which heat transfer takes place between the two fluids without any physical contact. Automobile radiators are very good example for indirect contact type heat exchangers. Next, moving for the second broad classification of heat exchanger based on direction of flow. Based on direction of flow, heat exchangers are classified as parallel flow heat exchanger. So in case of parallel flow heat exchanger, if I consider a shell and tube heat exchanger like this for understanding, let us have a tube like this. So both the hot fluid and cold fluid will flow in the same direction. So let us say in the central tube, let hot fluid will flow. Let us consider it as hot fluid inlet and hot fluid outlet temperature. Here let me consider it as cold fluid inlet and cold fluid exit temperature. So the direction of both hot fluid and cold fluid are in the same direction for parallel flow heat exchangers. Whereas if I consider the counter flow heat exchanger, if I consider a counter flow heat exchanger, if I consider the same shell and tube heat exchanger for better understanding, both hot fluid and cold fluid will flow in the opposite direction. Let us consider the hot fluid flowing from left to right. So inlet temperature of hot fluid, outlet temperature of hot fluid, whereas cold fluid will flow in the opposite direction. T in and TCO, the cold fluid will flow in the opposite direction to that of hot fluid in case of counter flow heat exchanger. And one more classification based on direction of flow is cross flow. In case of cross flow heat exchanger, we have the flow like this. So both will flow perpendicular to each other. So this is an example for cross flow heat exchanger. Let us have the cold fluid inlet here and cold fluid outlet here. Let us have hot fluid inlet and hot fluid outlet. So these are the flow paths in arrangement on parallel flow, counter flow and cross flow heat exchanger. Based on direction of flow, the heat exchangers are classified as parallel flow, counter flow and cross flow heat exchangers. Next, moving for the third broad classification based on design and construction. Based on design and construction, heat exchangers are classified as A. Shell and tube heat exchanger. For shell and tube heat exchanger, if I consider, let us consider a shell inside which let us have tubes. And also let us have the entry for the tube. Like this, if I consider. So inside the tubes we have one fluid flowing, whereas inside this shell we have another fluid flowing. Let us say this has cold fluid inlet and cold fluid outlet. Here let us have hot fluid inlet and hot fluid outlet. So this is an example for shell and tubes inside. Shell and tube heat exchanger. Inside the shell one fluid will flow. In the tubes another fluid will flow. This is called as shell and tube heat exchangers. Based on construction, the second type is the concentric tube heat exchangers. Concentric tube heat exchangers. Let us consider two concentric tubes which are also called as tube-in-tube heat exchanger or concentric tube heat exchanger. So this is an example for concentric tube heat exchanger. On one tube, one fluid will flow. On the outer tube, another fluid will flow. That is the annulus between the inner tube and outer tube. In that space, another fluid will flow. Next, moving for the third classification based on design and construction is compact heat exchangers. Compact heat exchangers. So compact heat exchangers are the special type of heat exchangers classified under based on design and construction. These compact heat exchangers are employed in automobiles because of their space constraint. The compact heat exchangers have very high heat transfer area compared to their volume, as high as 700 meters square per meter cube. Per unit volume, they have the heat transfer area as high as 700 meters square. The advantage of compact heat exchangers is that the surface area of heat transfer is very high provided for the given volume. So this makes them very compact and suitable for mobile air conditioning systems. The very good examples are lowered fin evaporators and lowered fin condensers are the very good example of compact heat exchangers. So if you want to know the meaning of lowered fin, just Google and search for images of lowered fin condensers and lowered fin evaporators, which are very good example for compact heat exchangers which are used in mobile air conditioning systems. So this is about the three classifications. Coming for the fourth one, the fourth classification of heat exchangers is the classification based on physical state of the fluid. Based on physical state of the fluid. So based on physical state of the fluid, the heat exchangers are classified as A, condensers, and B, evaporators. Coming for condensers, in these type of heat exchangers, the hot fluid will condense over the length of the heat exchanger, whereas the cold fluid will gain heat, and the condensing hot fluid will remain at same temperature. So that we call it as saturation temperature, and the cold fluid will gain temperature as it flows through the heat exchanger, whereas the hot fluid temperature remains same. Thi is equal to Tho in case of condensers. This is over the length of the heat exchanger. I am plotting the variation of temperature. So contrary to that, in case of evaporators, the boiling of the fluid happens in the evaporator. So therefore, the cold fluid will changes its phase from liquid to vapor at constant temperature, that is Tci is equal to Tco, whereas over the length of the heat exchanger, the hot fluid temperature will keep on decreasing gradually. So this is Thi and Tho. Over the length, if I plot the variation of temperature, in case of evaporators, the cold fluid will start boiling in its flow, change its phase from liquid to vapor at constant temperature, which is also called as saturation temperature, and the hot fluid temperature will gradually decrease when it flows in the heat exchanger. Whereas for condenser, the hot fluid will remain at same temperature, but it condenses from vapor to liquid, whereas cold fluid will capture heat and its temperature gradually increases when it flows through the heat exchanger. So this is the classification of heat exchanger based on physical state of the fluid. So this is the broad classification of heat exchangers. The very good example for heat exchangers are car radiators, cooling towers, and boilers are very good examples for heat exchangers. Under classification of heat exchangers, we have studied based on operating condition. We have direct type and indirect contact type. Direct contact is cooling tower, indirect contact is automobile radiator. Based on direction of flow, we have parallel flow heat exchanger, counter flow heat exchanger, and cross flow, or it is also called as mixed flow heat exchanger. And next, based on design and construction, we have shell and tube heat exchanger, tube in tube or concentric tube heat exchanger, and next we have compact heat exchangers which are employed in mobile air conditioning. And next we have based on physical state of the fluid, condensers and evaporators. Next, moving ahead, the next topic is overall heat transfer coefficient. So the concept of overall heat transfer coefficient I have clearly discussed in our module 1 itself, if you remember. Whenever heat transfer takes place from fluid to fluid with the intervention of metal resistance, we make use of overall heat transfer coefficient to determine the rate of heat transfer. So using overall heat transfer coefficient, the rate of heat transfer between the fluid and fluid through the metal resistance is given by Q is equal to UA delta T mean, where delta T mean is the mean temperature difference of hot fluid and cold fluid, which will be calculating with the help of logarithmic mean temperature difference, which I will take up in our next lecture, where U is called overall heat transfer coefficient. So the general expression for heat transfer is also known to us, which is nothing but temperature difference by resistance, that is sum of resistance, which I clearly explained in our module 1 itself. So comparing these two, we have already know that overall heat transfer coefficient times the area is equal to 1 by sum of resistance. where the resistance due to convection is already known for us. It is 1 by HA. Resistance due to conduction for plain wall, it is L by Ka. For cylinders, it is ln of R2 by R1, 2 pi KL. For sphere, it is R2 minus R1 divided by 4 pi K R1 R2. We already know the formulas for resistances for convection, conduction for plain wall, cylinder and sphere, using which I can determine the value of resistance. If I use inside area, I can calculate overall heat transfer coefficient based on inside area. If I use outside surface area, I can calculate overall heat transfer coefficient based on outside surface area. This you people already learned in our module 1 itself. The new concept what you are going to learn here is the fouling. Fouling and how to calculate the overall heat transfer coefficient for fouled heat exchangers. What is the meaning of fouling? If you observe, heat exchangers are the devices which are used to transfer heat from one fluid to another fluid. So therefore, the surface of the heat exchangers are always in contact with the fluids. Due to the presence of impurities in the fluid and also due to the long-term contact of fluid with the metal surfaces, there is a formation of corrosion also on the surfaces of the heat exchangers, which causes resistance for heat transfer, which is termed as fouling of heat exchangers. So due to the presence of impurities in the working fluids or deposition of impurities on the surface of the heat exchanger, or because of corrosion of the heat exchanger, as the heat exchanger grown older and older, the effect of these is felt in terms of resistance for heat transfer, which is termed as fouling of heat exchangers. So the overall heat transfer coefficient for fouled heat exchangers is given by 1 by overall heat transfer coefficient of fouled heat exchanger is equal to resistance of fouled heat exchanger plus 1 by overall heat transfer coefficient of clean heat exchanger. We define the fouling of a heat exchanger by considering a fresh brand new heat exchanger. And the overall heat transfer coefficient for fouled heat exchanger is given by the expression 1 by U foul is equal to resistance due to fouling plus 1 by U clean, where U is overall heat transfer coefficient. Now how to calculate overall heat transfer coefficient for fouled heat exchanger? No need to worry about that. If you refer the data handbook written by C.P. Kodandaram, which we are referring in 8th edition, page number 157, in page number 157, he has clearly given the equation for overall heat transfer coefficient for fouled heat exchangers based on inside surface area and based on outside surface area. If I refer the data handbook in page number 157 of data handbook, from page 157 of data handbook, we have the overall heat transfer coefficient 1 by U naught is equal to 1 by H naught plus resistance due to fouling on outer surface plus R naught by K ln of R naught by Ri plus R naught by Ri, resistance due to fouling at inner surface plus R naught by Ri HA. Whereas based on inside surface area, we have 1 by Ui is equal to 1 by Hi plus resistance due to fouling on inner surface plus Ri by K ln of R naught by Ri plus Ri by R naught, resistance due to fouling at outer surface plus Ri divided by R naught H naught. So these expressions are available in page number 157 of data handbook written by C.P. Kodandaram in 8th edition. No need to worry to calculate the overall heat transfer coefficient for fouled heat exchangers. Directly take the data handbook, refer page number 157. We have the equations, substitute in the equation and solve. So with this very brief introduction to heat exchanger, let us solve two simple numerical problems in today's lecture based on overall heat transfer coefficient. Let me pause this video for a while so that you people can copy it down. Later we will solve problem number 1 and 2. Next, moving ahead, the problem number 1 states that determine the overall heat transfer coefficient based on the outside surface of a 2.54 centimeter outside diameter and 2.286 centimeter inside diameter heat exchanger tube with thermal conductivity 102 watt per meter Kelvin. If the heat transfer coefficients at the inside and outside of the tube are Hi is equal to 3575 watt per meter square Kelvin and H0 is equal to 30,800 watt per meter square per Kelvin. If I list out the data given for problem number 1, we have determine the overall heat transfer coefficient based on outside surface area. So it is asking us to calculate U0 of an outside diameter. He has given V0 as 2.54 centimeter. So hence the value of V0 will become 0.0254 meter. So thereby I can calculate what is the value of R0. R0 will be 0.0254 divided by 2, which is 0.0127 meters. And he has given the inside diameter Di, which is 2.286 centimeters. Therefore, in terms of meters, it is 0.0286 meters. Hence, the radius will be 0.02286 divided by 2. The radius will be 0.01143 meters. And he has given the heat transfer coefficient, convective heat transfer coefficient on inner and outside surfaces, which are 3575 watt per meter square per Kelvin and 30,800 watt per meter square per Kelvin. So the problem is like this. We have a tube-in-tube heat exchanger like this. And he has given the inside heat transfer coefficient is specified and also the outside heat transfer coefficient is specified for us. We have Hi and he has given the thermal conductivity of this material. That is, he has specified the value of K also, thermal conductivity. The thermal conductivity is specified as 102. So let me note down the thermal conductivity also. K is 102 watt per meter per Kelvin. Now for cylinders, we know that the resistance of a cylinder solution, we know that the resistance of a cylinder R for cylinder due to conduction is given by ln of R0 by Ri divided by 2 pi KL. For convection, you know that it is 1 by Ha. So hence, if I draw the circuit for this, we will be having the resistance as from the inner surface, from the inside to inner surface we have convection, R due to convection it is R1, and from inner surface to outer surface we have conduction, and from outer surface to ambient we have again convection. Let us take it as R2 and R3 is the resistance what we have. Is the electrical analog for the given problem. Whereas R1 resistance from inside to inner surface is because of convection. We know the convective resistance which is given by 1 by Hi Al, which is equal to 1 by Hi is 3575 into area is 2 pi RL. Since length is not given, let us take length as 1 meter. 2 pi Ri. Ri is 0.01143 into L as 1 meter. So let's consider L as 1 meter. Assume L as 1 meter. Let us calculate for per meter length. So thereby I will get the value of R1. Coming for R2. R2 is because of conduction. We know that conductive resistance is given by for cylinder. It is ln of R0 by Ri divided by 2 pi KL, which I clearly explained in our module 1 itself. So if I substitute and solve, inside convective resistance will be 1 by 3575 into 2 pi RL, 2 pi into R. R is 0.01143 into L is 1 meter. I will get R1 as 3.8949 into 10 to the power of minus 3 degree Celsius per watt. Whereas R2 will become ln of R0 by Ri, that is 0.0127 divided by 0.01143. Ln of R0 by Ri, 2 into pi into K is 102 into L is 1 meters. I will get R2 as 1.644 into 10 to the power of minus 4 degree Celsius per watt. And now coming for R3. R3 is also because of convection, hence it is 1 by H0 A0. So which will be H0 is 30,800 into 2 pi R0 L. So R3 will be 1 divided by 30,800 into 2 into pi into R0. R0 is 0.0127 and L is 1 meters. I get the answer as 4.0688 into 10 to the power of minus 4 degree Celsius per watt. Now we know that he is asking us to calculate based on outside surface area. So U0, hence I want the inside surface area A0. A0 is 2 pi R0 L, which will be 2 into pi into R0 is 0.0127 into L is 1 meters, which is 0.0798 meter square. 0.0798 meter square. Hence we know that U0 A0 is equal to 1 by sum of resistances. Hence U0 is equal to 1 by 0.0798 into sum of resistances. Sum of resistance will be 3.8949 into 10 to the power of minus 3. 3.8949 into 10 power minus 3 plus 1.644. 1.644 into 10 to the power of minus 4 plus we have 4.0688 into 10 to the power of minus 4. So if I solve, I will get the answer for this problem as 1 divided by 0.0798 into 3.8949 into 10 to the power of minus 3 plus 1.644 into 10 to the power of minus 4 plus 4.0688 into 10 to the power of minus 4. If I solve, I will get the answer as 2805.83 watt per meter square per Kelvin. So this is the solution for the tube-in-tube heat exchanger overall heat transfer coefficient based on outside surface area. Next, moving for problem number 2. If I move for problem number 2, we have a copper pipe of thermal conductivity 350 watt per meter per Kelvin of 1.75 centimeter inner diameter and 2 centimeter outer diameter carries water, and the oil flows through the annular passage between this pipe and a steel pipe. On the water side, the film coefficient is 4600 watt per meter square Kelvin and the fouling factor is 0.00034. The corresponding values for the oil side are 1200 watt per meter square per Kelvin and 0.00086 meter square Kelvin per watt inverse. Determine the overall heat transfer coefficient between water and oil. If I list out the data given for problem number 2, we have a copper pipe. Let me consider a copper pipe like this. We have a copper pipe. And he has given the radius of this copper pipe also. We have Ri and we have R0 of this copper pipe, and around which we have a steel pipe. On this copper pipe we have water flowing, H2O. On this, between the annular region of copper pipe and steel pipe we have flowing of oil. So here we have fouling factor and also here we have fouling factor. Let us call it as RFO and RFI. What he has given, resistance due to fouling, RFI and RFO. And also we have convection and convection. So this is what we have the problem, and the cylinder is 1 meter long. Let us take, since the length is not specified, let us solve per meter length. Now if I list out the data given, he has given the value of thermal conductivity K. K is 350 watt per meter per Kelvin. Inner diameter is 1.75, therefore di is 1.75 centimeter. Hence I can calculate the radius. Radius will become 1.75 by 2 into 10 to the power of minus 2, which is 8.75 into 10 to the power of minus 3 meters. And we have D0, outer dia is 2 centimeter, hence the radius is 1 centimeter. 1 into 10 power minus 2 meters. So water flows through this pipe, whereas between this copper pipe and steel pipe in the annular passage we have the flow of oil. On the water side, that is inside, the film coefficient Hi is 4600 watt per meter square per Kelvin, and resistance due to fouling RFI is 0.00034 meter square Kelvin per watt, and the corresponding values of H0 and RFO are also specified, which are 1200 watt per meter square per Kelvin and 0.00086 meter square Kelvin per watt. Determine the overall heat transfer coefficient. Let us calculate based on both outside surface area and inside surface area. So this is the problem what we have. Whenever we have overall heat transfer calculation based on fouling, kindly make use of data handbook. If I refer page number 157 of our data handbook, we have the formulas for overall heat transfer coefficient based on for fouled heat exchangers. So hence If I move for solution from page number 157 of data handbook, we have overall heat transfer coefficient based on outside surface area is given by 1 by u naught is equal to 1 by h naught plus RFO plus R naught by K ln of R naught by Ri plus R naught by Ri RFI plus R naught by HI Ri. Hence, if I solve, I will get the value of u naught. Similarly, to find ui, we have the formula 1 by ui is equal to 1 by hi plus rfi plus ri by k ln of r naught by ri plus ri by r naught rfo plus ri by r naught h naught. So if I substitute and solve, I will get ui. So if I solve for overall heat transfer coefficient, the overall equation cannot be solved directly. So therefore let us solve individually, and finally we can solve for u naught as 1 by all those right hand side. If I do that, 1 by h naught, 1 by h naught is 1 by 1200, that is 8.3 10 to the power of minus 4. This value is 8.3 10 to the power of minus 4, and we have RFO known to us, and next we have R naught by K. R naught is 0.01 divided by K is 350 multiplied by ln of 1 by 0.875, which is 3.815 into 10 to the power of 6, 3.815 into 10 to the power of minus 6, and this term is R naught by Ri times RFI 0.00034, 0.00034, which is 3.89 into 10 to the power of minus 4. into 10 to the power of minus 4, and finally we have R naught by HI Ri. R naught by 0.875 into HI. HI is 4600, which is 2.48 into 10 to the power of minus 4. This is 2.48 into 10 to the power of minus 4. So we have calculated all the values individually. So now I can solve for u naught. That is 1 over sum of all these values. 1 over 8.3 into 10 to the power of minus 4 plus RFO is 0.00086 plus 3.815 into 10 to the power of minus 6 plus 3.89 into 10 to the power of minus 4 plus 2.48 into 10 to the power of minus 4. If I solve, I will get the value of u naught as 429 watt per meter square per Kelvin. The solution for this problem is overall heat transfer coefficient based on outside surface area is 429 watt per meter square per Kelvin. Similarly, if I solve for inside surface area, I will get the first term is 1 by 4600, that is I will get it as 2.18 into 10 to the power of minus 4, and this term will become Ri by K. Ri is known to us, Ri is 8.75 exponential minus 3 divided by k is 350. This is multiplied by ln of R0 by Ri, that is 1 by 0.875, that is 3.34 into 10 to the power of minus 6. Now coming for this term, we have Ri is 8.75 10 to the power of minus 3 divided by R0 is 1 into 10 to the power of minus 2 multiplied by RFO is 0.00086, which is nothing but this term will become 7.524 into 10 to the power of minus 4. Coming for the last term, we have Ri is 8.75 10 to the power of minus 3 divided by R0 is 1 into 10 to the power of minus 2 divided by H0 is 1200, which is nothing but 7.29 into 10 to the power of minus 4. So if I substitute all the values, hence ui will become 1 by sum of all these values, that is 1 by 2.18 10 to the power of minus 4 plus RFI is 0.00034 plus 3.34 10 to the power of minus 6 plus 7.524 10 to the power of minus 4 plus 7.29 10 to the power of minus 4. So if I solve, I will get the answer as overall heat transfer coefficient based on inside surface area is 489.54 watt per meter square per Kelvin. Hence, the solution for this problem is overall heat transfer coefficient based on outside surface area is 429 watt per meter square per Kelvin, based on inside surface area is 489.54 watt per meter square per Kelvin. So this completes our discussion on calculation of overall heat transfer coefficient. So in this introductory lecture, we have discussed the definition of heat exchanger, classification of heat exchanger, concept of overall heat transfer coefficient and fouling. If you encounter problem on fouled heat exchangers in which he has given resistance due to fouling, always refer page number 157 of our data handbook and solve the problem. So this completes the introductory lecture. In our next lecture, I will take up analysis of heat exchangers using logarithmic mean temperature difference method, that is LMTD method for heat exchangers. That's all from this lecture. Thank you all.